Hi everyone, Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's so great to today introduce you to Rashad Wood. How you doing, Rashad?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm
Uh,
so glad you're here.
It's an honor and a pleasure. It really is. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Now, Rashad has a podcast and it's called The Randomness of Nothing. I love the title, and we kind
Thank
of
you.
talked at the beginning of the show. So
Yeah.
let's get into it, Rashad. What do you do?
So basically, when it comes to the podcast, I focused on everything that I thought of that I wanted to speak with people about, that I would speak about in small circles. I'm the guy that watches documentaries. I'm the guy that knows random anecdotes and facts. Either I bore you to death or I really intrigue you. There's no gray area with me, right? I'm the guy you either walk away from or gravitate towards, right? So what happened was I would constantly watch documentaries and I have like, man, I would just know these things. And I've said this on other shows. I saw a special that Keanu Reeves did once, biggest movie star in the world. And then he did a 10-part series of him being a geek, going to different places, finding out about his own fascination. I was like, man, if in the world is a nerd, I kind of see a lot of myself in that. And I could probably find some inspiration and get out of my fear of doing that. So I decided to start talking to entrepreneurs, creators, business owners, people that start what it was like about random facts, how things were created and made. And it's been really, really fun so far.
Oh, awesome. I love that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a little bit about everything, but but maybe a bit more in depth than most people
Yes,
do, right? And
right.
so what's some of your favorite topics? Let's go there.
I love when people who have kind of been at that age of 30, 35, 40 have had kids, married, and then they pivot. And then they're like, you know what? I tried this particular avenue and maybe I wasn't, happy personally, professionally, but I always wanted to pursue this particular endeavor. And it was the itch that I needed to scratch, so to speak. And, I've seen, for example, there's a woman, Elizabeth Salaroo, one of my earliest guests. She was a luxury bake maker, a luxury cake maker in England, and she made cakes for the royal family. And she's like, for members of the royal family, relatives of it. And I'm like, how do you even begin to do that? And so here she was. She's like, I'm just trying to figure it out because I was always really good. I got compliments for how I was making things. And then she went all in. So this show is really about people who decided to go all in on what they want to do with their dreams, their passions, their pursuits. It doesn't even have to be something large. I've seen people who are personal business coaches, professional coaches, life coaches that wanted to help people. So it's not about the scale of what they accomplish. It's about the heart and the pursuit of what they wanted to achieve.
That's what I love about having you on the show, Rashad, because
Mhm.
really Success Diaries is that very thing. It's not always the end, it's the journey, it's the
Yes.
overcoming the ups and downs.
Yes.
And when the adversity hits you or you're not quite sure, sometimes you're right. You just have to kind of close your eyes and jump right in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fun part about it is that these people want to share their stories because,
Yeah.
if you turn on the TV, you only get a small segment of how the world really operates and functions. When you drive, there's a business, there's a success story, there's a story to be told, right? Like, 80% of businesses are small businesses, right? So who are those people? How did that building get created? Where did they get their start? Who did they hire? What did they have to overcome in the process? And so it's an opportunity to talk to those people who may not make it on CNN, but have a very, very successful business or story to tell. And it's unearthing those and basically manifesting my own personal curiosity.
I like that. Now, do you go on the road, Rashad, or you just do it in the studio?
Right now, I do it in the studio. I would love to be able to do on the road because that's one of the ultimate goals is to find out, hey, if you made this, show me how it works. Break it down to its purest element, and then show me how where it started. Did it start in the garage, in the basement? What was the first prototype? Did it fail? Like it's like this podcast. I sucked when I started, right? I, I straight up, I was like, but people came on. They're like, man, that was really good. And you're like, oh my God, that was terrible. Right. But at least I was polite and nice, right? You know what I mean? Like, so my expectation were don't let them see me sweating and be polite. And then and be prepared, right? So then it became from being prepared to, okay, now I feel like there's some momentum where I'm getting, the guests are getting, the conversation is getting more in depth. They're being more, questionable to me. And the dialogue is going back and forth. And nobody taught me it. I had to learn it on my own.
And that's the best way, Rashad.
Whew.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that's the best way. I knew nothing about podcasts either when I started, but I knew
Yeah.
I had a mission and I knew what I wanted to do. And I
Yeah.
wanted to help people come forward on their journeys and help
Right.
my audience. And you're right,
Right.
I just jumped in. So I think that's the best way to do it, Rashad. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And the thing is about it for anybody who's listening is that if you're on the fence, if you're thinking, if you're wondering, if you're wishing, I promise you sitting on your couch ain't the answer to it.
No,
Right?
I agree.
It's not, right? And listen, I would much rather be laughed at than ignored about it. That's the truth.
Well,
Yeah.
and wouldn't you agree that in today's day and age, Rashad, and we have the look at right here, we're doing a show together. We're doing
Hmm.
an interview. It'll be uploaded on YouTube and Instagram
Right.
and LinkedIn and all of that. So as we go, look at the world. It's wide open to anyone who wants to go forward and tell their story, even if
Yes.
they don't want to start a podcast, but they
Right.
can have their time to talk about their story and perhaps help that one person that just wasn't quite sure and now gives them the
Right.
courage, right?
Absolutely. And that was one of the reasons why I started it, right? Because, I've always said, when you come out of college, you're kind of pre-programmed. I'm not judging the merits of it, but they've insulated you from the rest of the world of how the world really operates and functions. Meaning that if I'm going to get the job, I'm going to get the car, family, house, and then you're just on autopilot of how life actually operates and functions.
Yeah,
And you wake up, you do the same routine over and over again. And then at some point, you gain weight, you have kids, the hair turns gray, and that's all, and that's life. And I'm not that. Listen, people, the young people who are watching this, if you're fortunate enough to have that happen to you, that's a good thing, by the way. That's not a bad thing, right?
yeah.
So, but sometimes you have to remove yourself from that process and say, did I use my full potential? Was I actually, did I sit on the fence or leave anything on the table about what makes me happy? And if the answer, and if you're honest with yourself and you don't lie to yourself, then you will sit back and say, okay, I need to start that podcast. I need to start that business. I need to start that hobby. I need to pursue that passion. Anything outside of athletics, you can still pursue after a certain age. You
Of
really
course,
can,
of course you
you know.
can. Absolutely. A lot of people have done it.
Yes, yes. So, you're not going to make the NBA, the NHL, or be on, the Olympics after a certain age, that ship has sailed. But if you're talking about starting a business, always want to pursue a passion
Yeah,
or things like that, those things don't have an age limit for you. And so
they
it's very
don't.
important to get out of your own head, stop worrying about what people think, and for lack of a better term, stop being a punk about it.
I like that. Now let's talk about some trivia that you know.
Please. Yeah, for
So
sure.
let's go into things that you like. So tell us some things, some people or stories that you've come across that you actually are able to tell us here that you were quite inspired by.
Yeah, so there were some really good, interesting ex-military people that I was really fascinated by. The interesting part is obviously those people who find out at such an early age. I mean, at 18, picture yourself at 18 to be able to actually, put your life on the line for the country, right? When I was 18, like 9/11 happened when I was 18, and so here I was at a college campus, and meanwhile, people that I went to high school with were, the following year were getting sent to Baghdad. And so your life is like you can't even like my mind wasn't even on the same terrestrial plane as them.
Yeah,
So when you talk to them, they're so structured. They're so, their time is so valuable to them and they've already accomplished stuff before 35, before 40, before, like you've done all this, from 18 to 25.
yeah.
So I had a chance to talk to some, who have started, well-established businesses, as well as also deal with the fallout from PTSD and other things that came from it. And so those stories were important for me to hear because I'm not a veteran. I never had a chance to, I wasn't brave enough to put myself on the line like those men were. And so hearing those stories and then hearing what they deal with in civilian life and the success they've achieved afterwards lets you know that you put limitations on yourself because if they're willing to do all of those things, you should be able to do the same.
Now, would you think, Rashad, and we thank them all for their service. So any of the
Mhm.
people that you spoke to, that's wonderful. Would you think that it's a mindset because it's something intuitive, or would it have come through family members that were part of it? What do you
Yeah.
think what did you learn from that?
Some of them did have family members that were in it, and obviously
Mm,
it could be based upon, the cultural in the area where you were, if your father, grandfather, and your inner
yeah,
circle was that. A lot of people, I mean, I can't speak too freely of what their experiences were directly, but some of the people that that I went to school with in particular, they were like, I just got to get out of this town. You know, it was just like, I just have
Okay.
to get out of, small
Yeah.
town just outside of Detroit, Michigan. And so everybody's motivations are different, right? You get a chance to see the world. And the stories that I've had a chance to talk to and the people that I've had the chance to talk to, I mean, I would never have met them in real life if I hadn't started the show. I
That's
just wouldn't have, and you're just like, it's weird, and you know this, when people reach out to you, like you put your show out and then they want to actually talk to you.
right.
And you're like, I must be doing something right. I don't know what the scale of what it is, but I must be doing something right.
Yeah, and you're a very friendly person, Rashad, and
Thank you.
you have an interest in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and I can tell you have an interest in your guests, and that's a
Oh,
big
thank
thing
you.
because you have to listen and you have
Mhm.
to be appreciative of what they're going through and have been through and be empathetic, but
Absolutely.
also learn from them what their ambitions are so that perhaps you can help them get to where they want to go, and that helps you get where you want to go, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing about it is too, is that with people who are want to pursue success or want to, get to that next level in life, the people are out there and they're willing to share that information with people. So they're not some mythical unicorn sitting in some castle that that
Yeah.
people are like, I don't know how I'll ever make it in life. Like, dude, they're on the internet. They're willing to share their story. They listen. You pop on YouTube. If you stop listening to music videos and start listening to these people, they're telling you exactly what to do.
Isn't
They're
that
telling
fantastic?
they're telling you what to do. It's like a cookbook. Like, I can't cook. Pick up the cookbook. Like, the recipe is right there.
Right?
And so like, if you're willing to, the hard part about it is I'm too busy, right? That's the antidote of it all. And so if you're first, I always, whenever I was doing the show, I always pictured myself, if I was ever in front of somebody important like a Mark Cuban, could I ever tell them I was too busy for something? And you're like, that's not gonna fly. Like, you can't tell them you don't want to give up a weekend or want to miss a movie or you want to miss something important. I mean, you wouldn't even get past the first conversation with that
I know,
person.
right?
You
I
know what I'm
believe
saying?
I think it was Mark Cuban actually comes on YouTube and says that. Don't be blinded. You're going to miss birthdays. You're going to
Yes.
miss family get-togethers, and you're going
Yes.
to upset people. But
Yes.
in the long run, they're going to
Yeah.
appreciate and respect what you're
Yeah.
doing. So yes, he's
Yes.
very good.
Yeah. And it literally, it's like, I say I've told this story before. I was physically active, so I always thought I was in shape. And then I realized how out of shape I was when I saw a video of myself actually working out and doing martial arts. I do martial arts. And then it occurred to me that I was lying to myself. So when I realized that, I cleaned up my diet and now I'm starting to see the results that I wanted to. Because you can only fool yourself for so long. So when you actually think you're busy, actually calculate your free time and what you have due. When you actually start pinpointing that downtime, I always could have started a podcast. I could have did this 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but I was too busy, right? And it wasn't until you get to that stage in life where you make the time for it. You make the commitment for it.
I believe also, Rashad, I would add that you were ready when you were ready.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
that does, there's a lot of people out there that absolutely have dreams and goals, and they have to get into the mindset because they're not going to jump in and take action until they get to that moment. So
Nope.
you did exactly what you had to do at the moment you had to do it. And that's good.
Exactly.
We commend you for that.
Appreciate that. And and here's the beauty about the internet and the democratization of the entire process. You don't have to necessarily, I'm not dismissing broadcast and journalism school, but if you're willing to actually structure yourself, prepare yourself, get guests, and be compelling and polite, you can do it, right? So there's not some big, it's like people who want to do music now, right? There's a way to get into the music industry that there wasn't before,
That's
where you
right.
didn't have to shop your demo and hope to God that the one or two record labels would listen to you. Like, now they're seeking people, podcasters and musicians out, and they have social media people who are seeking people out who have done good things. And so you can be in the most remote location and be like, hey, somebody found you,
That's
right?
right.
And so you really start putting excuses away when you realize that, like, number one, it's a very crowded space. So if I'm very poor at what I do, they can go a million other podcasts, right?
Sure
Because
they
there's so
can.
many out there. So I'm always cognizant of that when I have an episode out. And then number two, if I am in a crowded space, how do I stand out? And so that's why I kind of created the randomness of nothing because I think that by diving into entrepreneurship and creativity and success, everybody kind of wants to gravitate towards things like that.
I like that. Now, I
Yeah.
would add one more thing to that, Rashad. We have, as you and I talk, we both have a talk show. You have a podcast, I have a talk show. As we go forward, it's all about networking too. So what I found, and I'm sure you have as well, it is amazing how people want to help you succeed
Oh my
because there's
gosh.
kind of a web of everyone in this together
Yes.
feeling, and everyone help promotes each other. And that's what
Yes.
I love about it. I always subscribe to my
Yeah.
new guests, or if they have a podcast, I subscribe to
Hmm.
it. And they subscribe to mine and it
Right.
goes around. And
Right.
but I always do, and I tell my guests, or sorry, my viewers, to also do that. Even if you're on a show just once, at
Right.
least subscribe and pass it on
Right.
because that helps everyone, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the thing is about it too is like I don't I never came into the podcasting experience with the idea that I was going to be the smartest guy in the room, right? So by doing that and by staying, kind of leveled about it, it's made for what I think has been a pretty compelling experience. And to your point, we're all trying to help each other. We're all trying to get those viewerships and those numbers
Yeah.
and that's that one special guest that will really reach you to the upper echelon. So it doesn't matter the level of guest that I have, I'm going to give them the same
I like that. And so
experience no
let's
matter.
say you're out 5 years from now. Where do you see everything, Rashad? Where do you see yourself?
Hopefully still around on this earth with 2 feet on it. So that's
Well, that's a
that's
good
the
start.
right. So I would hope that the Randomness of Nothing podcast has reached a certain number of viewership, a certain level of acclaim, that a certain level of guests would like to be on it, and if certain partnerships would cultivate from it. I visualize it taking to the level of, let's go to these remote locations to find out what this particular product, building, service, whatever the case may be, let's go here and see how this works. Maybe it's something that nobody's ever discovered before, kind of a history discovery channel kind of a situation where let's go here and let's explore and find out how this works.
I like that. I
Yeah,
truly like that. I can
yeah.
see you doing it, Rashad, because and again, I say you're very friendly. You
Thank
have a
you.
warm way about you, and that's going to help. And the guests are going to feel comfortable being with you on the show or telling their stories. And
Yeah,
and you're also helping them grow even further from where they are. So
right.
I know you've got all the elements to go huge. We'll
I
see you up
appreciate
there.
I appreciate it. And the thing is about it is there's so many success stories that literally the people I've talked to, I'm like, you have a fantastic business that is very successful. You live very nice off of it, but not even about the money. I never heard of what you did. I never like there are
Right.
businesses that I'm like and I've interviewed people from Michigan. I'm like, I never knew this business existed, and it's global. It's literally in my backyard. I'm like, I've never heard of this company. And so
Wow.
those are the things that you don't know because it's very easy to get zip coded in life, right? I know exactly when the lights are going to turn. I
Yeah.
know exactly where the grocery store is. I
Yeah.
know exactly like when the school bus comes, what train to miss. And you time everything in life, right?
Yeah.
Right. And you have to untime your mind to all of that stuff to actually do like something successful, where you're like, okay, I'm going to drive in a different direction. I'm going to eat a different food. I'm going to talk to this particular, person who started this business because if I start changing my programming, so to speak, I'll see the world in a different way.
And set new neural pathways to your new
Yeah.
plan, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I
Because
get that.
what happens is, and you know this, you'll start eating more, you'll start drinking more, and you'll start getting lazier. And it won't be because you're a bad person, it's because you have a routine.
And I think we always need to be thinking forward, keep our faculties going. As you said, you learned a whole bunch of things along the way. And guess what? Again, it's the bond, it's the new people that you meet, the new adventures that help you too. It keeps
Absolutely.
you going.
Right. And if you look at all these, I don't envy the 22-year-old kids right now who are all coming out of college, right? Because now everybody has an MBA. Everybody has a computer science degree, right? You are literally you're like little Slim Shadys, right? Where all you all on the factory assembly line, and you all look exactly the same, right? So the question becomes now, how do you stand out, right? You can stand out. You can certainly go on
Yeah,
social media and make a complete fool of yourself or perceived fool of yourself and get a lot of clicks and views. I'm not going to do that. That's not who I am, and it's inauthentic. I think there's something that if I can just continue on the path that I am, I think things can work out well for me.
I do too. I think you're headed for some big things, Rashad, and
I
I'm
appreciate
quite
it.
impressed. Absolutely. Now, if somebody wanted to reach to you today, what's the best place?
The tronpodcast.com would be the best place. I'm also on social media. I've told everybody who listen, I have people who do social media for me because I was the worst, am the worst, and always will be the worst social media person that ever existed. Right. I don't like, I didn't know how to like tag or do all those little hashtag and all. I had profiles and I would post like, happy birthday, but I wasn't the person that knew how to like promote themselves. Like that just wasn't me. So once I got people who know how to do that for me, I'm in a much better space social media wise than I was, a couple months ago.
Good. So we'll make sure all your links are here. I'm going to put it all in the show notes and we're going to
Yeah.
have your short. Now, I want to come back to the randomness of nothing. That's on
Yeah.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All the major podcast platforms as well too. And for people who are interested in being a guest, I will tell everybody this: you will get a fair shake as a guest. I don't do religion, I don't do politics for a particular reason because that's the nuclear bomb that I don't want to even attempt to touch. So it keeps everything kind of polite. And the biggest thing about it is success doesn't know an area code, a zip code, a country, or a region. It doesn't. It doesn't when you start thinking that the only world that exists is your county, your street, your zip code, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You're doing it, and it's very important that those stories are told, those people are reached out to get an idea for that person that's listening on their couch that's like, man, I haven't caught a break. This is the show to come listen to.
I like that. Well done. Well said. Thank
Yeah.
you for ending the show on such a wonderful note. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Rashad, you really are terrific. And I know you're going to do a great job on your show. You're going to have continued success. And if I'm just in a small way helping you get there, I'm very honored.
Listen, I'm honored to be a guest. When people get on, I'm used to being the one asking the questions. I'm not used
Yeah.
to being asked. So I'm always honored when people want to talk to me. I still pinch myself when people want me as guests.
Absolutely. You were terrific. So everyone, this is Rashad Woods. You want to take a look at his podcast, The Randomness of Nothing, and go over to YouTube, but I'll make sure all his links are here in the show notes, including the Tron podcast. We'll make sure it's all here for you. And thank you again, Rashad. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye-bye now.